Every week I go to watch Higurashi, I walk in thinking this will be an episode that blows me away. And then I'll finish the episode of Higurashi and I'll be like, damn, that blew me away even more than I was expecting. I always set my expectations a little higher than where I think they should be for this show, and they always find a way to entertain me even more than I was expecting. It's such an exhilarating ride, and while I know there's always the debate between the first comers and the old fans and what's going on here, I've been for now 17 weeks here enjoying my time with it, and I'm still enjoying my time with it. I mean, they clarify quite a bit, and they also really set in motion the final stage, or what appears to be the final stage of this show. And with 7 episodes left to go, you would say, oh, the cat's out of the bag. Satoko is clearly the other looper, the manipulator, the mastermind behind all this. She wants to keep Rika in the village, have a perfect life where she doesn't abandon her. And if we were at the final few episodes, I'd agree. I do think there is something going on and she's clearly an important part, but there's gotta be another person behind this, or another entity behind this. I wouldn't be surprised if we walk into next week's episode that happens to be the toy gun of the other character, and then she plays it off as a joke, and then we get into the real tension. But then again, based on what we've seen recently, we could just see a bunch of characters end up dead and then we're in a new loop again. I mean, the fact that we made it through the festival and nothing bad happened, we get the clarification with Takano, who basically we start the episode off with a massacre, and I'm like, well, of course, I mean, based on the cliffhanger of last week, that makes total sense. No real surprise, but then we see it from the other perspective of what was going to happen, and her saying, I was going to do all these horrible things, but I'm not doing it anymore. And then you make it through the festival, and then you get the clarification that, for now it seems like everything's okay, and then we get the Dr. Irie stuff, and we get basically the understanding that there was some splinter cell organizations going on, and clearly Takano was most likely the one behind a lot of the things that was happening. We get these understanding of the needles, this injections, I forget what they call it, but then we get up to L5 when the stages go crazy, Sakato's brother, everything like that. But to get that clarification, it's so interesting because it puts into perspective that, okay, her not doing anything stopped it. Then we're set, right? Game, set, match. We're good. No more issues. But it's not. And even before the Satoko reveal, you assume she's the other looper, right? Because at this point, that's where all the cards were pointing. But I've said it for many weeks now, there's got to be more than meets the eye. There's no way Satoko is the only one behind this. And why would this entity just kind of leave Rika after telling her how to kill someone who's kind of defying loops, all things considered? Why is that shard back in the statue after she seemingly has found the perfect loop? There's got to be someone manipulating Satoko, and if not, there's more twists and turns in meets the eye, because I don't see how in 7 episodes you could keep Rika knowing that Satoko is behind this, or Satoko knowing that Rika understands. And then the question remains, does she know? Does Satoko know that Rika remembers, or does she kind of end up in this weird state? Maybe she's the one with the syndrome right now and nothing has triggered it, right? There's a lot of things happening and a lot of things being set in motion, and what this episode does is it makes it just as horrifying as any of the graphic imagery we've seen over the past couple of episodes. I think one of my favorite shots to kind of present this idea is you have our girls here just standing. It's a peaceful scene by the looks of it, but you see Satoko's shadow behind Rika's, indicating that she's one moment away from pulling the trigger if Rika says anything about leaving or being unhappy. There's so many shots that you can look at in this episode and say it's a peaceful scene on paper, but when you take a step back and put into perspective, especially at the end of the episode and seeing who Satoko clearly is, unless she is possessed right now, but it seems like she's the other looper, all things are pointing to that. But then the question remains, why is she the other looper? Is someone else behind this, right? So you get all these moments that look so great on paper, but really are just one step away from pushing someone off a cliff, pulling a trigger with a handgun that, what is going on? Why is she bringing a gun to school? That's why I'm kind of thinking that maybe it's the toy gun that we have our girl always carrying around. I could see that happening, and then that kind of being played off as I was just teasing you. What's going on here? But I did like the actual reveal of indicating that she was the one who was behind most likely everything. The idea of having that Jack in the Box kind of punch you and she freaks out, but really it's a teddy bear because she changed it. It's such a clever way to reveal it, even though most people watching probably assumed at this point, especially with how the episode was being directed for so long. It was so great to see the tension and how they continued to escalate it piece by piece. And there was so many moments where Rika would just stand there, right? I figured this is the moment she's going to confront her. and then she played it off very cool, saying, I love this town, I love spending time with you. I mean, I can't be the only one who was watching the scene when they're on the bridge after getting groceries before the reveal that it was a surprise party, that I thought like maybe she was saying, hey, follow us, I'm gonna confront Satoko, and then she's probably gonna do something to me that maybe we can stop her before it's too late. And then it's just like, no, we're throwing you a surprise party. And I was like, okay, well then this isn't going to be the episode. The bridge scene seemed like the point where it would be revealed, and because they didn't, it made the birthday party seem like, okay, maybe this won't be the episode, it will be next week. And then the end of the episode comes around and smacks you in the face. I just love Higurashi and how it uses horror not as just violent gore in order to spook you. It's the constant tensions, it's the cicadas in the background, it's the sunsets. Sunsets are generally the most positive scenes, the most romantic scenes. But in Higurashi, when I see a sunset, I get more scared than when Reina came crashing down on our boy Keiichi in the beginning of the show. There's so many things happening, and while I know there's going to be a lot of heated debates, and there's been heated debates for now 17 weeks, I'm here enjoying it, and I think my viewers watch and also just here to enjoy different opinions, different perspectives, and that's what we're about here. Just good vibes about the show, despite the vibes in this show actually being pretty damn graphic. But you get where I'm coming from. Love it, the voice actor's on point. I actually really like both Satoko as well as Rika in this episode. I think for what we now know, kind of clarified at the very least for this episode, seeing how they were putting on a facade in order to keep the happy message going, their voice actresses hit it out of the park and really delivered something that was truly exhilarating, and you could tell was such a fake reaction, and they both were trying to manipulate things in their favor. And honestly, it seems like right now Satoko has the edge, but I guess time will tell where we're gonna go next. I don't know if I've really even touched upon it much, minus maybe at the very beginning of the show. The opening to Higurashi GOU, I think, is such a great way with how they use it, because generally you don't just kick into an episode of Higurashi and the opening plays. There's generally like something happening like a minute or two beforehand, and then you get this most creepy opening ever. And the thing that really makes it creepy is the glitching effects that they have overlaying all the images. But it's so great because you're just watching it, you're thinking, okay, things are going okay, opening kicks in, and you're just getting spooked. That's kind of how I feel. Generally, I grow bored of openings eventually after a first couple of watches for an anime. This is one that I've continued to really watch, and I really appreciate how it actually adds to the horror that the episode is presenting, and I never get bored of it. I haven't really touched upon it too much, but honestly, like, I really feel like it's one of the more memorable openings I've seen in quite some time, especially for a thriller style anime. In this case, it's more of a horror, but you get my point. I'd love to know everyone's thoughts and feelings on this episode, the clarifications that it did bring up, especially with those syringes. Down below, what are you feeling, and where do you think it might go with next week? Because we still have, 7 episodes left, and it would feel like this is where you'd get like the episode 22 reveal, right? So there's still a lot more than meets the eye, but I'd love to know what everyone's feeling down below. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like, share your support, and hit that subscribe button if you have been new around here. So until next time, everyone, please take care and have a good one.